Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca Hoefer, and today I want to briefly have a look on whether God can save us all, or whether we are better off if we take liberation in our own hands to save us all. Probably, since human beings exist and since we started to use our brains, we are searching for answers to questions, spiritual questions. Questions like, where did we come from? What is our place in the world? Or what happens to us after we die? More than 20 world religions and hundreds of belief systems try to respond to these and other eternal mysteries in life. It is driven by the intuition that some of those questions can only be answered by faith or something greater than ourselves. And we have the feeling that there is some higher power we must answer to. Mostly, we imagine this higher force as human being too. So let's call it a superhuman. That superhuman controls power and takes care of us. If you want, you can name that superhuman also Allah, God, Guru, or in case you believe in not only one but more superhumans at the same time, you can also call them Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or any other name. So about 6 out of the 8 billion people living on this planet Earth believe in some sort of faith and some kind of God. Now, think of your religion, your superhuman, and try to find some attributes that can describe the deep-rooted values. Do you have some in your mind? Which are those? If you have a look on the deep roots and the basis of religions and compare them to each other, it becomes clear that there are similarities between all of them, despite some actions and aspects that are different to each other. But similarities of religions are, for example, sacrifices. Be it sacrifices using animals, grains, and vegetables, or self-sacrifice, the major religions sacrifice something to obtain favors or good deeds for the next life. They also promote to give alms to the poor, needy, monks or nuns, and it can be food or money, for example, which can be used for education or startup businesses. Those world religions also encourage the followers to fast in daily life. Some fast for 6 days in a year, some even 1 to 3 days per week, others for a month or like 40 days. It can be no food or only restricted food items, even no water or no sexual activities, everything is possible. It is recognized as a method for practicing self-control. All religions also have some form of praying, which is considered as a way of worship. Obviously, there are differences in how often people pray. Sometimes hours of prayer are prescribed, or how to pray. It might be that a certain sequence of movements need to be followed. When you look at this, what comes to your mind? All of those values are actually good and positive values, aren't they? They are highlighting the good side of life, right? And certainly some of the most virtuous and noble human acts are carried out in the name of religion, and the greatest moral reformers and activists in history were inspired by the principles of their religions. Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi are two inspiring persons famous for their good deeds, for example. But when you look back in history, are there only good things happening in the name of religion? Certainly not. It was a couple of years ago already, but some long-lasting wars and some other acts of terrorism had been carried out in the name of religion. Sad, isn't it? And when it comes to terrorist attacks, religion is said to be the main motive, and a number of deaths are steadily increasing. But why so? Like, it's really a paradox, isn't it? But let me try to explain this with the help of a little story. The story of the two wolves within. One evening, an elderly Cherokee told his granddaughter about a battle that goes on inside of people. "A fight is going on inside me," he said to the girl. "It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed and arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego." He continued. "The other one is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. And the same fight is going on inside you and inside everyone else, every other person too." The granddaughter thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "And which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." So, what does this little story teach us? There are certainly many people who feed the good wolf. However, one person feeding the bad wolf is enough to do great damage to all of us. Spiritual religion, so the kind of good religion, promotes higher attributes of human nature like compassion and fosters a sense of the sublime and sacred. However, when it becomes dogmatic, it becomes a great misery. The ego is strengthened through beliefs, labels, and group identity. And when people feel a need for group identity and belonging with a need for certainty and meaning, it becomes misery and madness. Let me explain this again with a story. Someone is sick and goes to a doctor. The doctor examines the person and then writes a medicine prescription. The patient comes back home and is very happy and has great faith in the doctor. There's nothing wrong to have faith. And certainly one must have faith in the doctor, but what if this faith becomes blind faith, or devotion becomes blind devotion? In the house of the patient, he has an altar, and he places a statue and picture of the doctor and offers sweets, fruits, flowers, and incense sticks to him, draws circles around it, and bows down 3 times. Now, does it help? He then takes out a piece of paper and keeps on praying. 1 pill in the morning, 1 pill in the afternoon, 1 pill in the evening, 1 pill in the morning, and so on. And later, as he didn't recover from his disease, he ran back to the doctor and asked him why he gave him this piece of paper, prescription, and how it will help. The doctor simply replied, "Look, this is your disease, and that is the cause of your disease. If you take the medicine, your cause will get eradicated. And when the cause gets eradicated, your sickness also gets eradicated." "Ah, wonderful. Now I understand," replied the patient. Now, after he came back home again, he starts fighting with his neighbors. "Your doctors are all useless. My doctor is wonderful. The medicine he prescribed is the best. You can forget all the other medicines. They are useless." And he keeps on fighting, but still doesn't take the medicine. So, what does it help? What does one get? Only madness. And this is what happens when faith becomes blind faith and devotion becomes blind devotion. So, with those little stories, I guess it became obvious enough that blind faith is not useful at all and more likely to harm us, right? And according to Julius Nyerere, the primary purpose of education is the liberation of man. The skills and knowledge acquired by education should be liberating ideas and skills. And if they are not liberating, then it can't be properly called education. If a teaching encompasses some kind of impotence or slave mentality, it is not education but an attack on the mind. Also, Hinson and Hundsdorfer once said that education has to liberate both mind and the body. It has to make him more of a human being because he is aware of his potential as a human being. Therefore, I urge you to educate yourself so that you can form your own opinion. Educate yourself so that you don't follow any belief blindly. Fight dogmatism and free yourself. Educate yourself to save us all. In that sense, may God save us all from religion.